Welcome to the Cookbook, where we invite guests on to share the ingredients of what has helped make them the successes that they are. All of it, the good, the not so good. You're not going to find anything half-baked here. And our kitchen gets messy sometimes. That's when the fun starts. So come on and join us. Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Cookbook. I'm your host, Iris Goldfeder, and I know my background looks different than it normally does because I'm not in my home office. I am in a hotel in West Virginia, and by the time this thing airs, I may be living in West Virginia. We'll find out. But anyway, I'm going to talk about Tessa Lynne, who is my guest today. She's like freaking amazing. We met at Potapalooza. We had a really quick interview, and we just really clicked. And I hope that you think that she's as awesome as I do when we're done with this. So I'm going to read her bio and bring her on. Okay. Tessa Lynne Alburn is a feminine energy coach and podcast host for women seeking freedom, connection, and having their voice in life and business. With decades of experience leading live and virtual events and helping women create results, Tessa now helps women express their true voice, be heard, and show up in life the way they really want to. So, without further ado, let's meet Tessa.
Hello there, Iris. I'm happy to be here.
I am so happy that you're here and we finally got this to work, because I know we had to reschedule once, and now I'm in a freaking hotel somewhere, and here we are. But
exactly, life happens, right? There's a lot of stuff that's happened between the first time we spoke a few months ago and now.
Yeah.
And, so, I think those are just like signs of the times, right? Like,
100%. I think that's just life. So tell us about Tessa. Tell us, who you are, your journey, just all the things, and be you. So don't even worry about it. Just you be you, say whatever you want to say, and I'm fine. Okay. The sky is going to open up. Okay, go ahead.
I was thinking about you maybe last night or sometime when I was meditating a little bit and thinking about the show today. And I was like, oh yeah, a memory came back from when I was living in the city, and I used to sing on Catch a Rising Star. I know, it's crazy.
Oh, remember Dangerfields?
Yes.
So go ahead and I'll tell you.
Dangerfield would come in. And all the big ones, Robin Williams and oh my God, Billy Crystal. It was just super amazing. But go ahead and tell me about Dangerfield.
No, so my dad owned or had a liquor store in Manhattan, and so he delivered to like all of the places, right? And he got me into Dangerfields, and it was me and my guitar, and he was getting ready to introduce me, and I threw up because I realized that these are like big players. I mean, Pat Benatar played there, like all of these really big players, played there. Right. And here's me, right? And he's talking about me. He heard me sing, and he goes, yeah, we're talking about the next fucking Barbra Streisand. And I went, oh, and then I threw up because he said, and I'm like, there's no way that I would ever sound in any lifetime like Barbra Streisand. And then he's trying to say my name, and he goes, Iris Gold. Oh, fuck it. Iris Gold. And that was it. And so I sang, I did okay, but that was the end of that. But my stage name for the longest time was Iris Gold.
That's hysterical.
Isn't it? And then my dad he was like, what's wrong with Goldfeder? I was like, Dangerfield couldn't,
Oh yeah, you took it personally.
So So, but now I just keep Goldfeder. But yeah. So what happened with Catch a Rising Star? That oh my God, that just brought back so many memories because that place was a trip.
Those were the days of being a freelancer and trying, having really big dreams.
Yep.
Right, following passion to the exclusion of any common sense, maybe. Moving to the city with $22 and a giant ass suitcase that I had to haul up and down the subway stairs. So, I just didn't have a clue, right? But I think there was the spirit in me was to have like freedom right? And I think that speaks to a lot of entrepreneurs. I didn't think of myself as an entrepreneur back then. I just thought of myself as, somebody who wanted to sing and who wanted to perform and who wanted to make people happy on stages and, from the stage and create some magic, right? And then as life goes, it works out for some of us and not for others. And we have our 15 minutes of fame and, taking taxis in the middle of the night to go do the late spot at Catch was kind of intense. And I get there and everybody was super drunk. Like they didn't want to hear a singer. They just wanted to, hear TNA jokes or whatever it was. And, so I would get through it. It was great for practice. It really helped me to shed some of the rejection stuff, right? To be in front of people who are literally catcalling or saying, take it off, baby, or whatever they were doing. Well, I'm trying to sing a song.
Wow.
Croon something out. But 6 months of that. And I was like, okay, I've had enough. That's okay. And then my focus kept shifting and shifting. And then eventually I was like, I want to go to where there's like some wide open spaces. Because as you know, the city can get pretty intense with so many people all the time, just a lot of intensity. And I had gone out to visit my sister in Arizona. She was in the service there. And I just fell in love with the sky. I was like, sky again. I haven't seen the sky in except for this limited view.
You could have gone to Long Island and see. I mean, I'm just going to say,
Well, that's true. And I did go sailing in Long Island once. And I used to go on hikes out of the city with the Appalachian Mountain Club. So I did those things to keep myself sane. But at a certain point, my spirit needed nurturing and my emotional body needed more softness.
Right.
So, So I saw the sky of Arizona and I thought, I just need more of this. And I shifted things to come out to LA. And at first I was also pursuing performing until I ran into just so many casting couch scenarios that I just was like, done.
Yeah. I mean, there was so much of that. It was like, I can come up to my hotel room and let's talk. And it was like, yeah, I'm good. No, thanks.
Yeah. No. And, I have this one, like, I don't know if your people care about this, but I remember one time a producer had me over for dinner and we had done a production together and seemed like we had a great relationship. And I went over and he's like, well, for you to go to the next level, you have to sleep with me. And I was like, you stupid, like that. Well, of course, no way. And I immediately left. But I thought to myself, if he hadn't done that, like I was liking the guy,
Right.
Like my intuition wasn't very good back then. I've definitely done that quite a bit. But so, having respect, having dignity, I think some of these things just kept me going to the next level. What is it I can create? How can I still have freedom and create, enough income to do the things that I love. And I had been really sheltered, as not sheltered, but contained as a young girl and told to be quiet and all that stuff. So I was like, I've got to go sow oats. And I went from that to like working in corporate office at law firms. But most of the time I would just quit after a while because I couldn't take it. So I would be like floating. I would be, the temp, and people loved me. They were always offering me jobs. Like I didn't have to worry about that. What I had to deal with was saying, no, I'm not coming in next week. And then they get like flustered with me, frustrated. So I did that and some other things, and eventually became a healer and a scuba instructor. And I had like 4 different things I was doing one year. I forget what the other one was now, but just trying to experiment with life. Like, how am I going to make it in this world without being pigeonholed into something? Right, because that's what had happened. Go to school, become this, do that, just like, your great aunt, become a teacher basically was the only option.
For me, it was secretary because, mom was a secretary.
Exactly. And so just wanting to live more passionately and more adventurously, that was part of who I was. And I was also shy. And so I had a lot to learn, like just to be able to speak here today with you is, not even in my consciousness 40 years ago. There's just no way. Right. I would have been mortified, would have been frozen, paralyzed. So all these little steps helped. And eventually I was working in a position at a nonprofit, an amazing place, and called the Hoffman Institute Foundation, where people go for like a week-long retreat to sort of get over their shit in their life. And and I had gone for certain reasons, and then when I got there, I just had like amazing other things connected for me finally. And I had even been a healer for some time, and I was doing a lot of service work for others in the shamanic realm. So I was doing core shamanism and helping people, restore their wholeness and feel greater self-love. But there was something about it where I wasn't quite feeling connected myself. And so something wonderful occurred for me eventually after enough meditation and the right kinds of support and all that stuff. And finally I felt like, I'm part of it too. Like I get to express who I am. I'm not just here to serve other people. Can you relate to that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yes. And, I kind of feel like I am here to serve people. I'm here to take care of myself and get my soul and what I'm supposed to be doing to the next level. But I do believe that part of that is to be of service for me.
Absolutely. And so do I. But now it's from a healthy perspective. Whereas for me, before, it was from the perspective of that's all I'm allowed to do.
Gotcha.
Right? Like, in order for me to be safe in the world, for me to be taken seriously, I just must dedicate myself to serving others, and their needs came first.
I gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the big difference, and that's a differentiator now in my business, where I am helping women to prioritize themselves and to listen to what they're needing, so they can actually ask for it. So there I was working at this foundation, and my job, I was given quite a bit of freedom, and I wound up creating a training program for the national facilitators. And I just, one day, it seemed like it was one day, it just sort of happened. I don't know when it was. It might have been in a meditation or just getting out of bed one morning going, I must become a business owner, like an official business owner. And I had in my mind, I was like, I don't even know how to do that. But I had been a freelancer for years, but my identity was not of a business owner.
Right.
Right. And so
little did you know that that's what you were doing.
Exactly. Like I had no idea. This was not on my radar years ago. And I started to absorb things, and I was leading teleclasses and things, and so I was just soaking up all this information in the self-growth arena, learning how to even lead a teleseminar, right? And then creating curriculum for it. And I just found that I had these natural talents and gaining facilitation skills. And I was like, there's something to this. And then at the same time, my healing practice was kind of, it wasn't growing, wasn't in a growth phase. And I was finding it hard to market it back then. So that would have been like the late 2000s. And it was still a hard sell. Like people just, what's shamanism? That's, it was just like endless questions. And I didn't know how to talk to people yet about what I did. And so I said, well, I'm going to try something else, and I'm going to become a coach. And so I chose to do that while I was still working. And then one day I just knew that's it. I've just got to launch myself. So I gave my 4 months notice, my exit plan. And I have no idea what's going to happen. I could just be a complete failure at this. I have no idea how I'm going to sell stuff like consistently enough to, pay the bills. And so it was it was a huge learning curve. Like how do you be of service? I think that was one of the big gaps for me, was how could I be of service and ask for money? Like I had healer brain, right? I'm just going to give it to you. You know, I want you to feel better.
I know you want to do that, right? You want to, it's like, you know, like I used to, man, when I first started my business, I gave so much away, right? There was this one woman who was a massage therapist, like straight from Thailand, and her master, I guess, her I don't know what it was called, but they gave her a seal.
A seal, like in the circus? No,
like a, you know, like a glass. So she had this glass seal that was her mark, I guess, and it was like a piece of glass. So I had my vendor at the time digitize it, and it was $300 to digitize it, and I didn't charge her
because I bless your heart.
Because she blessed my heart, my ass. It's like a whole nother story, but it was one of those things where you want to do, you know, and you want to do, and then for me, it ended up being where it just never was enough, you know. So I did the one thing, and then they wanted the other thing, and then they wanted the other thing, and the other thing, and the other thing, and then it was like finally, like, okay, boundary. You know, I had to put up a boundary, and that was the first time ever in my business that I ever realized that, oh, you need boundaries, or you're gonna keep getting text calls at 10 o'clock, or, you know, text at 10 o'clock at night, or,
yes,
you know, over something that can absolutely wait till Monday on a Saturday, you know. So yeah, like it just kind of, you know, clicked that with me, because I remember I would give so much away and they never appreciated the value of it. So the more you give,
yes,
right,
the more problem, right?
Yeah. So now, what I do is, if I do go above and beyond, I will send an invoice with the amount of what it is, so that they see the value and not charge.
So smart. Yes.
But it took like so long, and it was like, okay, so this normally is $1,000, but as an added value, I'm not going to charge you for it. And then they get to see the value and realize, ooh, maybe I shouldn't keep asking for stuff, and that took a really long time. But yeah, when you said that, that just kind of like stirred that up, because I remember just giving everything away until finally it was like, no, what are you doing? You're in this to make money. You know, you can't just keep giving everything away. But yeah,
you know, you're bringing up a really great topic about boundaries too. A couple of different topics, right? Value, perceived value, and boundaries. And I think for women especially, there's a pretty big gap there, a learning curve for women to learn how is it that you can set boundaries without just like pissing everybody off. And what are the boundaries that you need? Just even starting there, right? Rather than just saying no to everything. It's really important to learn those skills.
And it's one of those things, I think, that as women, right, we're brought up to be taught that we are to be of service. That, you know, back in the day, you know, when you and I were growing up, it was, you know, dad's meal should be hot and ready when he gets home, or there should be, you know, whatever. And, you know, now it's like, A, hell no. And, you know, B, things have evolved so much. And as women, you know, what I find, and, you know, you asked me before we started, you know, is your audience men? Is it women? I think my audience is very varied, but I do think that my audience has evolved. So whatever they are, right?
Yes.
And, you know, or whoever they are, because I think that's kind of what happened, is there's this, you know, evolution that has been happening where women own businesses, women, you know, are strong, women, you know, will say no, women, you know, and for the longest time, it wasn't like that. And I think that that threatens a lot of men, especially, I'm going to get political for a second, but I think a lot of the Republican men are threatened, which is why they're trying to set everything back 50 years. A lot of the women that I know are strong. They're professional. They have careers. And if they don't own their own business, they are high up in whatever, company they're with. And I've seen guys get threatened by it, which blows my mind. It's like, what? Why are you threatened by a strong woman?
Yes, I think there's a lot of confusion and fear, fear that what they've got going won't work anymore, or it'll be taken away, right? Or that their value they won't be as respected. And I think some of this is just old. It's really old stuff, like from centuries ago, right? Where women are perceived as, the witches or the troublemakers or the bitches, and that it's important to watch out for them.
Right. And we're gonna make sure we're gonna burn them at the stake because they're evil, because they're strong and they're speaking up, because women don't speak up.
Right. And and I think I've seen a lot of bully responses to women for sure. I've experienced some of that, which is one of the reasons that I learned how to start communicating differently.
Right.
Because I was perceived as somebody who was too abrupt. I was quiet. I barely said anything, but when I said it, it was often misunderstood, and it was perceived as a criticism. And I was like, why is this such a big deal when a guy could say the same thing?
See, and that's I think that's where my frustration came from, was, when women speak up, when we speak our mind, when we are assertive, we're bitches, or we're difficult to deal with, right? But if a guy does the same thing, it's expected, because that's what a man does. And I'm not male bashing. I have a lot of,
No, it's your experience.
Right? I mean, I've seen it. It's not just, I mean, that's kind of, what I see. And it's like, and I don't know if I told you, I had a business coach who was a male tell me to be less me, because I was I was working with all of these introverts and I was an extrovert, so I should pull back and be less me. And I did. And then when I woke up, right, because it was like, wait a minute, it was really like, what the fuck does that even mean? Be less me? How do you be less you? You can't. You are who you are. And if I'm a strong woman and you're threatened, maybe you need to be more you, or figure out who the hell you are, right? Because what the hell?
Yeah. Work on your confidence issues. But
yeah.
Yeah, I just think there's so many patterns and historical stories and energies that haven't been cleaned up yet, and women, gave away their power.
Yeah, 100%.
And so, and it's not pretty. It's a little bit messy as we're getting it back, and there can be pushback sometimes. And I think ultimately the answer is somewhere in creating greater understanding and creating conversations where both people or parties or groups or whatever they are actually feel heard and not invalidated, right? So, because whatever we're experiencing is our experience and we're entitled to that. Right. It's true. That's what we're feeling. And we're not like pretending to be a jerk or pretending to be a bitch. We're just literally, we're scared, or we're sad, or we're frustrated, or we want connection and we don't know how to get it. We want respect, and we just want to be understood, right? Not rejected and abandoned. And so we're constantly working these things out, whether it's in intimate relationship, in family relationships, or in business relationships with others, just everywhere. I think there's just a massive amounts of healing happening. And of course, we're in these times of awakening, where we're seeing all the, the underbelly of a lot of things. And it's not that pretty, but we finding ways to hold that, to accept it for what it has been, and saying, and we need to go better, we need to go forward differently, in a better way. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love how you say the awakening. I don't know if we really talked about this, but I realized my gifts, if you will, about 4 years ago, and started leaning into everything and realized that, yes, I'm a light worker, and everybody when I say everybody that I have met in the last 4 years is on the same journey. They're, we're all a little woo in our own way, right? But they're all light workers. Like every single person has, been awakened in, some way or another. And it's been amazing, and very affirming, right? That I'm not crazy. Even though some people may beg to differ, but, when I think about it, it's like, when I said, I always travel with my crystals. I clean the energy of the room because I don't know whose energy has been in here before. And a lot of people would think she's a witch. Yeah, exactly right. She's a witch. And I laugh at that because it's like, it's not that I'm a witch. I don't believe in organized religion. I'm very spiritual. What's going on in the world now is breaking my heart because I was raised Jewish. I have friends in Israel. And, I'm watching, the Jews be the bad guy when meanwhile, nobody's talking about what the other guys are doing. And so I kind of embrace everything that has elevated me and that has changed me. And it's the spirituality piece. It's all the spirit, the soul. I was working with do you know Jennifer Urezio?
I don't think so.
Oh, you guys, I'm gonna send you an email. The two of you totally need to meet. We've done some soul work together, and she's just amazing. And she got me in touch with other things that I was like, oh yeah, I'm good on this journey. And it was like, wait, there's another piece to this that I need to know. But the beauty of it is that it keeps on, unraveling. There's like more, it's like an onion, right? The more you peel it, there's like another layer. And that's how this feels. And it's amazing. When I look at the world at large now, it's like, okay, we need to peel off all of these crappy layers to get to that, I don't know if it's get back, because I think in the beginning of time, it was different. Women were revered differently. We need to get back to that where we can have conversations where, the man doesn't have to be the powerful one. The woman, my nephew's former, I don't know if they're still married. I always say that, but she did a commercial for Nike, Run Like a Girl, Throw Like a Girl, not like a boy, like a girl. And it showed some pretty badass women. And, it's like boys are, raised like, don't throw like a girl, because what, girls are, you know what I mean? So society is made to think that girls are less than, women are less than. And that's how I believe we've gotten here. And now we need to undo all of that to show that throwing like a girl, you see women referees in football games now. It's amazing. Like, I'm like, this is the best thing ever, because I think women are finally, are coming into our own. And, unfortunately, I see a lot of men just fighting it because they're afraid that they're going to lose the hold that they have. And it's like, maybe you are going to lose the hold that you have, but you shouldn't have a hold on everything. It should be equal. And that's why I feel there's a lot of stuff going on, because people are just super threatened by so much.
Yes. And I think what you're speaking to, like at the core of it, you're talking about a perspective or a paradigm that is win-lose.
Yes.
Somebody must lose for me to win. And you probably know this as we do our inner work, as we grow and we shift our energy, that's actually not the ultimate.
Nope.
Everything can actually be in a win-win. And so how do we do that with compassion and kindness and start asking better questions? Like, how could I maybe work with this person? How could we support each other rather than saying, oh, if they do that, that's going to threaten me. But looking at, because the universe, see, this is a universal law, and I forget which one, but but it is, because I know it. It's like in physics, right? It's the universe is growing, it's expanding. You can't have anything not moving in the universe. It's either expanding or contracting. And so if we're trying to hold on, we create tension, and friction, and then eventually we have cataclysm, or we have implosion or explosion. But if we can learn to say, oh, this is unfamiliar, and it's, I don't really know where it's going, but hey, I'm going to lean into it, and I'm going to get curious, and I'm going to see, well, now you're like going up that spiral that is part of nature. It's part of the great intelligence of life. And then we flow with it, and we learn from it, and we get smarter, not dumber. We get more open rather than closed off. And then we can become magicians, because then we're accessing tools and ideas and things that could never have gotten through that other paradigm. It just wouldn't have worked. The ideas are going to go here and fall away or crash. But now we create this softness of energetics, allowing things to flow through us, within us, and between us, so that we can restore love, so that we can create a world where it's beautiful, and everybody, why not everybody? Everybody gets to feel love in their heart and in their soul and participate in that in some way.
Right. That would, if everybody could do that, that would solve all of the world's problems. I'll just say
and
that.
we'd be out of work, and that'd be awesome.
Well, we wouldn't be out of work. I do marketing.
No, we wouldn't. I know. I'm just saying
that. No, I know. But I think that, everybody has their role. Everybody has their place on this planet, right? And there's people that work in corporations. There's entrepreneurs. There's, and that's what this is about, is, entrepreneurship, and how do people grow? So we know, why you became an entrepreneur. You were basically an entrepreneur before you became an entrepreneur, right? So, but one thing that I would ask, especially in this vein, is, people listening are either they are working in corporate and they're unhappy and they want to leave, or they're working in corporate and they're happy, but they want to do the next thing. I met a gentleman today who was like, I was the president of this, and I was the president of this, and I was the president of this. And finally, I was just like, I want to own my own business. And he could do it. And then he owned 4 or 5 different, my wife is sitting in the hotel room now. She just walked in. But for people, who are thinking about becoming an entrepreneur. There's all of this stuff. So what advice would you give somebody, especially in this vein? Because I think that a lot of people, listening aren't used to hearing me talk this deeply about soul, spirituality, the healing piece, the spirit piece. And I think that really plays a big part in it now, at least for us, right? So for somebody listening who's thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, what advice would you give them?
I think the first thing that I would invite them to do is to really get in touch with why that would be important for them and tune into the value side of things, right? Like, what does that allow them to do? How does that connect to their highest intention or their personal mission? Rather than saying, I'm going to become an entrepreneur just to make a ton of money. I mean, that has merit, but that will not sustain an entrepreneur. So what's sustainable is the connection to our authentic spirit, the connection to the stuff that makes us come alive, that motivates us day after day, and where we can say, this project might have failed, but I know that this is in me. I know I want to bring this out to the world, right? So the values, the things that we're really connected to, like I would say, know your top 3 to 5 values, absolutely. And then see how those can show up in your business. How will you create a business that's going to allow you to resonate with those values? Because that's when you're like starting to get into the zone of authenticity, and then you stay there. And that's when things really work well. When we try to go out or we become somebody else, or we're like, I'm going to do what they're doing because they're making a bunch of this, that, or the other. And I just see so many people fail at that. But then the next piece I would say is be ready for failure.
Well, and failure is first attempt in learning, right? So it's absolutely not really failing. So I love that. Because a lot of people do. I mean, for me, it was out of necessity, right? I lost my job and it was like, do I want to collect unemployment? No. So I'm going to start a business, 10 years ago. And it took 8 years to really get on the right trajectory. My thing keeps beeping. To get on the right trajectory of what this business was supposed to be. We did websites, we did SEO, we did like all of the things 10 years ago. And, now it's like, I don't even know how it happened. Like 7 months ago, 8 months ago, it was, we're all-in-one marketing solutions for the person who doesn't want to work with 20 different, people to get their marketing done. Duh. And it was and I remember when it hit, it was so funny. Like I saw that I was moving that way, right? But I think I woke up like in the middle of the night one night and it was like, oh, duh, this is why we're doing this. And it wasn't like this is why I'm doing this. It was, this is the purpose of this business, right? For the highest good, of everybody who we work with. We take the burden of you having to work with 20 people to get your marketing done away from you. Now you have one person to deal with, or whoever you're dealing with. But it took that away. And when I realized that was when I got clear, and that was when I was able to say, I can hire a salesperson now because I can actually explain what the hell I do.
Hallelujah! Yeah, exactly.
This whole, but it took 8 freaking years.
It can absolutely take that. And I think that would be a misconception of people when they first get into entrepreneurship, that they're going to be able to turn things around in like 3 years, kind of a standard startup sort of situation. But there's so many nuances, and everything has to align. And you're doing something, unless you're doing some kind of cookie cutter thing, then you've got to craft things and find out who your audience is. And there's all kinds of, input and growth. And there's a huge growth curve for every entrepreneur that I see, definitely in the beginning. And it doesn't stop. It keeps going.
I mean, right? So, okay. So my next question is, there are people listening to this that are seasoned entrepreneurs, right? What's an obstacle that you might have gone through, that they're going through now, or something that you've overcome, or may even still be going through?
I think, hang on, I might change up because I was thinking about things like this before we met up today.
And it's just one of those things that,
no, I know what I want to say. It's just because there are many topics here. Mm-hmm. But I think the one that I want to address today is going to be about adjusting one's mindset to really, and I know some people do this really well when they've been in entrepreneurship for a while, like they're working with teams or they're somehow part of collaboratives. But I would say it's really about the relationships that you cultivate that are going to help you have the greatest amount of success. And so starting that off sooner, like not thinking that I'm a solopreneur, like I don't even like that word anymore, because it suggests that we're supposed to like do all this hard work all by ourselves and prove ourselves in some way and create something and be innovative and be all this stuff, right? So first of all, redefine what success is to you, but then start allowing yourself to be in curiosity about relationships, because some of the most powerful players in the success of your business may not seem like the likely ones at all.
Yeah, 100%. I have met, I'm in a group. Do you know about the Dames? Did we talk about that?
No.
We'll talk about that offline. I'm in a group called the Dames, and it's women, 6 figures plus, and it's a networking group, but not where we sell to each other. It's where we raise each other up.
Nice.
And it's amazing. It's an amazing group. And I bring it up because, a lot of people, we had a conference a month ago now. Well, now by the time this thing airs, like 5 months ago, I don't know when this is airing, but, we had a conference, and speaking to these people virtually and all this stuff for like a year and a half, and then meeting them. And then as you're meeting some of the women, they don't realize who you are, right? And you don't realize who some of them are. And it was so powerful being in that space, and that female energy is like, holy crap. I mean, it was so much energy that I literally had to, and I'm an extrovert, and I can schmooze with the best of them and however many people are in a room. But the amount of queen energy that was in this room by, I think it was like 3:00 on the first day of the convention, I was so peopled out and so energied out. I had to go up to my room. I have never felt that much intense energy in one location. And it was all positive. There was nothing negative. It was just these strong women. And even the ones that might not have been as strong as me, or might not have been as strong as, you could see them. You could just kind of see them like starting to just be like, holy shit, I'm in this room of, oh my God. And here I go.
A lot of power, a lot of energy. Yeah.
It was amazing. It was just like amazing. So yeah, but you should definitely do. Well, we'll talk.
That sounds great. Yeah.
I think it would be great for you. But you know, I find that and I think, you know, one of the things that, you know, we first talked about, you know, as far as the energy and everything, I think what people don't realize is everything is energy. I mean, the chair I'm sitting on is energy, right? I know when I meditate, or I have my mindfulness coach, and, you know, she'll say, the chair that you're sitting on is energy. And I remember thinking I was meditating or doing mindfulness, and I was sitting there and I was like, oh shit, if like my brain starts thinking that the energy isn't there, does the chair disappear, right? So I kind of like got stressed and I kind of like grabbed it. But everything is energy, and it's like, it's up to us whether it's going to be good energy or bad energy.
Yes.
And I think that people like you and I want to really emanate as much as we can that good energy, right? We want people to feel good. We want to elevate people, right?
Yes, and I think one of the ways we do that is creating that safe space, right, where they can really be themselves.
Mm-hmm. Be your authentic self. And that's been my whole thing for the last 2 years, has been about being authentic. Not just for me, but anybody that I'm around. It's like, be you. I remember when I first started this podcast, Fabienne Raphael, who used to be, she was a coach of mine, and she's an amazing human. But we were getting ready to do the podcast, and she said, you know, I don't know if I could do a whole hour because my son, he only has about 30 minutes in him. And I said, so bring him on. And she said, what do you mean? I said, let him in the room. Let him in the room. This isn't like a strict, you know.
Yeah, this is real people. You
have a kid, let him be in. And so he was like under the blanket. And I think he picked out like 500 Christmas presents while we were doing the podcast. And it was so wonderful. But one of the things that she said afterwards, she said, thank you so much. And I said, for what? She said, for giving me permission to do that, because now I realized I don't have to hide him anymore.
Oh.
And how I was like, oh my God, I didn't realize that I was giving her a gift. So we don't even realize the things that we do sometimes, right?
Exactly.
You know, and it's and that's what I love about it, is that the smallest thing that we do could be one of the biggest things of that person's day, and we don't realize it. And we don't do it for that reason.
That's right. You know, I have to share this. This was a New York moment. Years ago, I was really struggling emotionally and financially, and I was being tempted by some not very good choices in life, and I was like close to the edge of checking out. And I got into an elevator in this old hotel-like building, and this woman got on with me, and she looked pretty disheveled. She kind of had like a wild look in her eye. I don't know her story. And I was just like trying to hold myself together to get where I was going in that moment. And I was just like looking up at the ceiling or whatever I was doing, or down to the floor, I don't know. And she just turned to me, like we're halfway to where we were going. And she just said, it's going to be okay. And then she went right back to being her. And I was like, what? Like,
wow.
Like, talk about, I think spirit like came in right then. Mm. I don't think that woman knew anything about like consciously what was going on with me, because I was just like frozen, you know. And
wow.
And I got the message that I needed at that time. And I think when we're authentic and we're just being ourselves, the first thing is spirit can move through us, much more readily. And then the other thing is we're giving permission to people like that, this is normal, this is natural. It's okay to, have a bad hair day, kind of like I'm having right now. And
it looks fun. I'm having a hotel room background kind of weird day. So
exactly. And there's a hurricane, last week there was a hurricane here, and thankfully not category 5, but it still wreaked havoc for 3 days, no power. And
where are you?
I'm in Baja right now.
Oh, that's right. You said that earlier.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I'm down near La Paz, in Baja, Mexico. And then when the power came back on, then there was no internet, and I had like this launch party the next day, and I was just flipped out. Like, people are waiting. They've been waiting for me to have this little launch party and get information from me. And I was like, am I going to need to cancel? Like, see if I can eke a text out to somebody to cancel it. And I just sat and I did my meditation, and I got, no, don't cancel. It's going to be fine. And about an hour later, the power came back on. But then the next day, when the launch party celebration was happening, I was like needing faces, and I was just, there was a vulnerability there. Mm-hmm. I had just barely gotten things back so I could even, be on video, but I just had to be myself. And not try to pretend I hadn't been through something, because my brain wasn't even working quite the same, right? Yeah. I mean, I think just being honest with people about whatever it is, enough information that they can have some compassion, not too much information. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, 100%. Yeah. And I think that, look, everybody goes through stuff, right? Like we all have those days, and those, like right before this, I got on here a couple hours ago, and I got onto StreamYard, and I was like, there's a delay. How the hell am I going to do this? There's a delay. And then I got Kofi, and he said, no, there's not a delay. And tomorrow I have this like really big thing. I'm speaking to the VC Europe X. I'm their keynote panel. And it's on LGBTQIA plus business owners and struggles and oh gosh, what the hell is it? It's for struggles that we face and opportunities that come from it. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm in this hotel room, and because my wife is
trying to like control the environment, right? And get it situated.
But I'm like, I know it's going to work out because it's supposed to, right? And when you can let go and take comfort that that it's going to be okay, it's a whole different game. I mean, 2 years ago, I would have been like, oh my God, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I did do a little bit of that, but then I was like, no, stop. It's going to be good.
Well, you know what? This is a really good thing for us to highlight, because I see this with a lot of entrepreneurs, especially those who are in the first 3 to 5 years of their business, 2 to 5 years, where they're not giving themselves like that spaciousness to come back to center, to breathe, to self-care, mm-hmm. right? And to create space in their very full schedules for them, right? Whether that's a 15-minute meditation or a stretch session or 3 of those a day. Like I need 3 at least of those a day. Or, staring out at the window and not doing anything, or just doing whatever it is. For everybody has something different that they need. But I think for any entrepreneur, whether you're new or you're seasoned, like remembering to give yourself that space to just digest and to be a human, is super important for being able to sustain a business and to sustain energetic capacities.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I forget, like I work in out of my house 90% of the time. My dogs are on the other side of the gate, just like sleeping for most of the day, and then sometimes they don't see me and I don't get to play with them until my wife gets home, because that's when I'll stop. And I've been really trying to be, I'll let them out here and there, but then they want to play. And I'm like, oh, I don't have time to play. I have to get in and do this. And I really need to give myself that space to be able to play with them, because they're like, not that they're like, mommy doesn't love me, because I know they know that I love them, but, I don't spend as much time playing with them as I probably should. And they're puppies, a year and a half, 2.5. So I need to be more cognizant of that. And that's
so you want to be a good puppy mom. And,
or
but
mom.
Also, like, there's value for you, right, in the play.
Yes. And the connection, because one of them is completely insane out of her mind. And the other one is not, but it's just that, holding them, the connection, and giving them the love. And so that's something that, when I get back home, that's one of the things that I'm going to focus on, because, I've been remiss, and I know that. And I think that, a lot of people, and I've allowed myself the grace, because I was kind of beating myself about that this week. And I said, you know what? You've realized it. Like, you could have gone years and not even thought about it. And then now the dog's 13 years old, right? But now it's like, I've realized it. So I'm going to take those steps to, do something about that. So and we're almost at an hour already. It goes so damn fast. Where can people find you? What and really before that, we didn't really talk about what you do. So let's talk about what you do and how you help people real fast.
Yeah, of course. Well, I think that one of the problems that I see today with spiritually inclined women is that they get to a certain level, and then because of the chaos and the busyness and the stressors of life, they sort of plateau. And they've got things that they need and that they want, but they're pushing all those things aside. And then what happens, they start to feel trapped and more disconnected from spirit, which is kind of an interesting paradox. And so what I do is I help them reconnect to their soul, reignite their soul fire, and help them to learn to prioritize themselves in a way that benefits everybody, but especially them, and to also, in that process, to really get to feel heard. There's so many women who are just trying to be good girls, and not ruffle feathers or rock boats. And I think it's just super important, and it's valuable for everyone. It's valuable for their families, their children, their colleagues, their friends, etc., to have that authentic voice and to trust it, to really learn to trust themselves. And that's how I help them to do all that.
That's amazing. I love that so much. So where can people find you?
People can find me at sayyestoyoursoulpodcast.com. And so my podcast launched recently, and we're having soulful conversations there. I have a free gift. So especially for women, they can go there and get a free gift. It's like an activation guide for igniting soul fire to get started.
I love that. That is awesome. And speaking of fire, so first off, I want to say thank you so much for taking time out of your day today to share with myself and my audience. And the last question that I always ask is, what lights your fire?
Oh, so many things. I am in Mexico right now. Let's see. Okay, so I'll just share like something around purpose. I think what really lights my fire is seeing the light go on in people's eyes, the connections happening, and then yes, me too. I'm included in this. I get to feel passion again in a new way, a way that's connected to the divine that allows me to be me. And that just makes me super happy.
That is so awesome. Hang on one second. I'll be right back. I'm going to say goodbye to the audience.
Sure thing.
Everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with me and my guests for another hour plus. And yeah, look at my background where, I'm a little aware of that. It just seems weird that I don't have my lightsabers and my Mandalorian helmet and, all the things behind me. But thank you so much for hanging out. And if you've gleaned any, really cool nuggets from this conversation, share, right? Share, like, subscribe. When you subscribe, you get a notification each week of a new episode. And just spread the love. There's like so much love in this episode. And I think in all of my episodes, I think there's just so much really good information out there. So go share and share the wealth of info with the world. And until next time, go and go light your fire. All right. See you guys. Bye.